how can we notice stress within ourselves? And then how can we manage that to not get to these really external phases of stress, which is basically killing us, as you said?
You're the boss.
So there's two parts to this. First of all, it's like when you look at anything in life, right, we can never change what we're not aware of. And for stress, that is one of the truest things. We walk along thinking, I'm fine on this go, like you say, so busy, so busy. And being busy has become like a status symbol today. It's like we want to be busy because it makes us feel important. Like the amount of times you hear a friend on the phone say, oh, sorry, I'm so busy this week. It's like it's a common catchphrase of the modern world. And so we kind of identify with that and allow ourselves to get into this pace. But we don't realize, first of all, where our stress is coming from. So if you don't realize where your stress is coming from, you can't do anything about it. So our sort of starting point in the book is like we look at a model we call a TONN of stress, which is trauma, obsessions, noise, and nuisances. And that basically looks at both the macro and the micro external stress in your life, and the macro and the micro internal stress, because 50%, but actually probably more, of our own stress is self-generated from how we perceive things and what our brain allows us to go on a narrative with about the world around us. And so when you can actually identify, okay, what can I actually change? Because we know we can't limit traumas, like what we were talking about in those stories. We have no control over that. None of us do. But we can choose to manage and, choose to soothe ourselves and choose our response when they happen. But the other sides of things, we do have this ability to actually decrease or limit. So trauma is the macro external, obsessions is the macro internal. And obsession it's like a continual narrative in your head. You'll know you've had an obsession when it's that one story that you continue to tell yourself at some point every day that's going on in your mind that causes you stress. So it could be something like, you're at work and your boss hires someone else who's come into your department and they're doing a really good job. And for whatever reason, you tell yourself you're going to get fired and they're going to replace you. And that's that narrative, that obsession that continues to keep you up at night and stresses you out. And noise is the micro-internal, which is different to an obsession because we all have it. It's like, as humans, we have 80% negativity bias with our brains and we're hardwired to look for the negative just to keep us safe. And so we all know that like negative internal voice we have to try and manage. And it's just little niggles. So it'd be like not one continual narrative. It's just saying like, waking up in the morning and be like, oh, I look old and tired today. That one comment, and that's just one is not going to break you, but you litter them with random ones throughout the day. And then nuisances, which is a huge reason for a lot of the stress in our lives in the modern world, is micro-external stress. So nuisances, we define it as anything sub-trauma, but it's also things that you wouldn't realize. So like the aggressive factory setting morning alarm that jolts you out of bed and gives you cortisol before you've even looked over. I mean, I actually had said this to you the other day. I had a new phone and I have a meditation song that gets me out of bed. It gets louder, it soothes me, it wakes me up. And I got a new phone and forgot to put this new song on. And woke up to Apple and I was like, oh my God, I thought that like the house was coming down. It was so stressful for me because I'm so used to like waking up in a soothing way. And these things really do have a huge, huge effect. So, those micro stresses, your digital devices, WhatsApp notifications, getting stuck in traffic, just from being in the modern world, we have that in our life. So you look at this model and you can actually be like, okay, so what can I change right now? What's within my control to limit, first of all? And look at what you can. And so when you can decrease and limit like the micro stresses, that actually gives you a resilience to have a different threshold to then manage the bigger things when they arrive and not reach this point of, for example, burnout because we've added one more thing. And that small little thing, like, your partner telling you you haven't got the milk carton or whatever that day and they get annoyed with you is the thing that's like causes you to snap, causes you to break. And it wasn't about that at all. It's because you've just piled one up. And so when we can actually understand where our stress is coming from, first of all, then we can actually do what we need to then learn the skills to manage it in the different aspects of ourselves.
Yeah, I normally recommend the financial accounting type approach to this. So, if I was a leader in an organization and they told me that the expenses are spiraling and affecting the company negatively, I'd say, okay, give me a list of all of our expenses. Let's rank them in order and then look at which we can reduce or remove, right? You need to do that. You need to sit down with a paper and say, what stressed me last week? Okay, that conversation with that friend was annoying. The coffee that was horrible. The whatever, right? And by the way, if you're really intuitive, if you're really into yourself, you go like, yeah. And when I told myself that I'm old, that really hurt me, right? And when you start to list it down, suddenly it's on paper, okay? And suddenly now you're able to look at it and say, this one is going, okay? That friend is gone. Right? This coffee, never again, right? And basically you'll be amazed at once you see it, how much you can take out of it. The challenge is that with burnout, none of the issues on the list would break you. On its own, all of them are manageable. As a matter of fact, you can carry 10 of them at any point in time, no problem at all. But when they get to 50, 60, that's when you break. Right? And normally, by the way, if you actually do the financial accounting, it's always those little, miscellaneous expenses that you're not looking at that are really draining you. Okay? So take a very deliberate approach to it.
I think it was one of those questions that I was going to ask to understand about stress. And then I thought, so many of us in here know solutions to stress, like meditation, like breath work, like body scanning. And yet we still don't do them. And that made me, we don't do them. I think, I don't know, do you think stress is an addiction? Because that's what it led me to think.
I think what Alice said, so you either don't do them because you're not aware that you're stressed, okay? You don't do them because you're aware that you're stressed, but like Alice said, you're proud of it, okay? Or you don't do them correctly because you don't know how to do them. I got this meme in the morning, I shared it with you, that said, my healer told me to write a letter to everyone that hurt me and then burn them, right? So I did it reluctantly, but what do I do with the letters now, right? And I was like, okay, that's exactly what we do. Someone somewhere says like, yeah, whatever diet advice or whatever, and it's not really deep enough. And we just take it and we just live with it, and it doesn't work, so we think that we're doing something that's unnecessary. Like if you meditate, but you meditate the wrong way, good luck, right? And that's really the reason why most people get off meditation, is because they think they're doing it the wrong way. Nobody ever told them that meditation is not about calming the mind. It's about training the mind to be calm by struggling with making it calm. So the act of meditation is entirely about mind wandering. Like you really need your mind to wander so that you do that act of bringing it back to calm, because that's basically the heavy lifting that you do in the gym, right? That act is training your mind to shift from noise to calm, okay? If you stay calm, exercise is over. Right? The whole idea is then your mind says, oh, coffee was horrible yesterday. And you go like, okay, we're going to talk about the coffee later. Focus on your breath or focus on something else. Right? And that to me is really where the challenge is honestly, after I wrote this with Alice, stress is easy. It honestly is quite easy to control. We just have to be aware that we're stressed. We have to choose to not be stressed. And then we have to do the exercises right. It's really not that complicated.